Okay, ladies and gentlemen, what we have now is an environmental symposium. How to save the planet in just a piece at a time. Could you all introduce yourself, please?
All right, I think we're going to get going with our environmental talk. There's 4 different groups up here. People can stick around and learn about how to get involved with helping the environment locally. And our 4th presenter is running up here. So my name is Deb Steele. I am from Greenpeace. We are starting a chapter here in Columbus. So we'll do a round of introductions, and then I think we're all going to talk for 5 minutes. So Deb Steele with Greenpeace.
Yeah, I think
About like this. It's supposed to be.
Hi, my name is Jen Lynch, and I'm with Oxfam Action Corps.
Hi, I'm Jen Miller. I'm with the Sierra Club Ohio chapter.
I'm Susan Muller, and I'm with Friends of the Ravines.
And I'm Stan Sells with Friends of Goodale Park.
All right, so has anybody heard of Greenpeace before? Great, great. So my name's Deb Steele. I'm helping start the chapter here in Columbus. I started a Facebook page, Greenpeace in Columbus. And overall, the big thing that we're working towards is President Obama is going to be going to Copenhagen in December. And that's to renew an international treaty on fighting climate change. Have you all heard of the Kyoto Treaty? It happened in 1997. America didn't sign on, right? So this time we want to make sure we sign on. And before Obama gets there, we need to pass science-based legislation here in the States that really tackles climate change so that we can make the most of these negotiations, because we cannot afford to miss the boat again. Overall, the biggest thing that's happening for the environment at the federal level was the ACES legislation that was in Congress and is moving over to the Senate. And Greenpeace is no longer in support of that legislation. It takes away power from the EPA to regulate greenhouse gases. It instills a lot of coal power and invests in nuclear power. So there's various reasons why we don't support that, and it's very important that we don't lose sight of what a green job is. And a green job is not coal, it's not nuclear power. And our own governor in this state is trying to build a nuclear plant 70 miles south of here. In Piketon, right. And they keep touting it as jobs, right? And they're construction jobs.
Related situations.
Is it recording now?
By adaptation, I mean,
hit this little
we want
red
to help
circle here and it
people
says recording.
alleviate the problems. And what we've been noticing is being on the ground is that climate-related disasters have basically quadrupled in number and intensity over the last 20 years. And it effectively undoes a lot of the work that we have been striving to complete. I'm sorry, I'm really nervous.
I'm doing great.
And because we've been noticing that climate change has been undoing a lot of our work, we've started up a climate campaign. We did support the ACES bill, and we completely realized that in the short term, it is not as strong as what we want or what we need. But we also realized that we need President Obama to have something to take to the table at Copenhagen. That's our biggest goal right now, is to get that passed and then just keep up pressure, and after it gets passed, to make sure that things like the Clean Air Bill come into play to help regulate, to lower the emissions and get it at a science-based acceptable level. But what we focus on within the climate change bill, though, is the International Adaptation Fund that it contains. And basically that's helping people who are having problems getting access to seeds that adapt to that. basically it's helping people get access to tools that'll help them adapt to their changing climate. The poorest of the people are the ones who are feeling the impact of climate change right now, and they're feeling it the hardest, and they are the least responsible for the actual impact, for the actual problem. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. As I said, I thought we could talk about it now. We can talk about it at the end, but I definitely have an answer for you. So just remind me at the end and I can speak a little bit about it.
We'll make that the first question. That's a very, very good one. Again, my name is Jen Miller with the Sierra Club. I want to give a big thank you to Tim Chavez. I remember when he gave his leadership in terms of really promoting this idea of a solar stage, and it's really grown into something incredible. The Sierra Club is the oldest and largest environmental organization in the country, as well as in the state, and it is an honor to be with all of you today. I work mostly at the state level, but of course we're working very diligently at the federal level as well. Sounds like we're going to talk about climate change. Sounds like that's what people are interested in, and I think one of the things I would like to say is that there is no silver bullet. We're waiting for that silver bullet, you know, that answer in a microwave, the sitcom that wraps up in 30 minutes. This is kind of our culture. We want a silver bullet. There is not one. However, there are many, many, many silver BBs that can knock this problem out. And I'd like to just follow up and say that nuclear power is not the answer, and that plant, even those folks that are worried about climate change, I think that this is a necessary step for Ohio. Not even needed in Ohio. Right now our plants are operating at about a 65 to 75% capacity. We don't need new generation whatsoever, especially the most expensive and most dangerous way to make electricity known to humankind is nuclear power, so we don't need it. But we do have at our own disposal many, many silver BBs to knock this out. And I think energy efficiency does not sound sexy, but this is something we can all do, and it pays for itself. Every dollar we spend in energy efficiency turns around $3 to $5 in savings on average. That will continue to increase because the cost of energy is going to continue to increase. So what do I mean by that? The simple stuff. Doesn't sound fun, but it's easy to do. I've done it in my own house and it's worked. CFLs, unplug your appliances. If you're too lazy to unplug everything that you can unplug, of course you can't unplug your fridge, then what I've been doing is I plug it all into a power strip, shut that off with my foot on my way out the door. Very, very easy. There's a whole number of things we can do, and we should also remember that this stage should remind us that solar power works in Ohio. This is one of the number one things I hear, is that solar power doesn't work in Ohio. However, the same solar panels that's running this stage are 25% less effective in Germany than they are right here, and Germany is the largest solar market in the world. So we have solutions here in Ohio. First windmill, Governor Strickland is proud to say, was actually built and or designed by an Ohioan. Can't remember his name, I'm sorry. But we have a lot of solutions here in Ohio. There's a lot that we can do. If you're interested in getting involved, please make sure you look at these various groups. A lot of us have booths across the way as well. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a nice segue into it. You can hear I'm a darn foreigner, so here's to Germany and its solar power. I grew up in a house with a green roof over 50 years ago, and it so happens that I believe in Michigan is a producer of solar shingles, and the buyer of those solar shingles, American-made solar shingles, is exclusively Germany. And it is amazing to me how few people here in the United States know about those alternative building materials. I am here to represent Friends of the Ravines. I belong to many other environmental and animal activist groups. but I think we are the two here who represent the local yokels, the ones that have a small strategic plan and are mostly interested in its implementation, because you can have a wonderful strategic plan. If it just sits on the shelf, it just sits there. So we are sort of a grassroots organization and came into being because Columbus is built on many, many ravines and also wetlands, as you know, that were filled in for the airport and other development. So our prime concern is with unearthing those ravines that have been covered. One is right now has been uncovered in Gehenna. And we have a prime project that is Glen Echo Park. We have been heavily vested in its rehabilitation. And we are also the proud recipient of ComFest 2006 and 2007 grant money. And I've been with Jim, I think, since the inception of the solar booth, and love to be here. When it comes to ravines, personally, I'm very interested in the domino effect of everything and connectivity. So ravines, you think, okay, it's a small ditch or a miniature canyon. Oftentimes it has a little creek flowing through. Well, it's very important to understand where that creek goes and what it brings with it. So that creek goes through your watershed or sheds. And we don't have a watershed coordinator here today, but this is the Lower Olentangy watershed. I used to be a watershed coordinator as well, and I'm very, very concerned about our waters, from rivers, streams, creeks, to the ravines. Should you live on a ravine or want to move to a ravine or learn more about it, we put out biannually a publication called Ravinia, and we also put out a Protecting Urban Ravines Guide, an Urban Ravines Guide. It contains the do's and don'ts, what you can do against erosion, how you may want to. Actually, we need a lot of ravine stewards, people, because the EPA doesn't have enough people to police construction today. The construction plans can be wonderful, the construction crews, however, can muck it all up. And so we need stewards who can see that the distance from the construction site to the ravine or to the creek or to the river is being kept so that runoff and sludge doesn't go in there. We need people who understand that invasive species can ruin your ecotope in a ravine. We also need people to understand that just ripping out invasive species is not the answer either. That is, going from one extreme to the other. One of the major invasives is the honeysuckle, but it also, when it is on the edge of ravines, provides erosion, measures against erosion, so you can't just rip it out. Many hands-on advice is what Friends of Ravines provide, and I'll be here to answer your questions later. Thank you.
I'm Stan Sells with the Friends of Goodale Park, and I'd like to see a show of hands of how many folks enjoy this site for ComFest. I think it's unanimous. This is an incredible urban green oasis, and the Friends have, in the 22 years that we've existed, been instrumental in overseeing, raising funds, coercing the city in over $2 million worth of improvements in this park. This park would not look the way it does today without the incredible efforts of a small group of volunteers in the Friends of Goodale Park. One of the things that we've been particularly concerned about are the trees in the park. One of the reasons the Friends came into existence was a severe storm back in '86, '87 that devastated the park in terms of the number of mature trees that were taken out at that time. Since that time, we've planted probably close to 500 trees, and we've done a comprehensive tree inventory of the entire park. We're fortunate to have an arborist on our board who has access to equipment. So we actually have a Google program on our website that identifies every tree in the park, the status of it, the type, the species, the subspecies, and there are over 700 trees that we currently have in the park. 180 of those are very unique species. In fact, this park is often used as a laboratory for Ohio State University for its forestry students because we have so many unique trees here in the park. We also do a lot to keep the flower beds looking decent, and we're always in need of volunteers to come and help us plant the beds, keep them weeded, and keep them looking nice throughout the year. And in an effort to do that, we happen to have the webmaster in our presence, but we have an incredible website now called friendsofgoodalepark.org. And I would urge all of you and urge your friends to check out our website. We have all of our work days, and we usually have during the spring, summer, and fall, we usually have 2 Saturdays a month dedicated to coming here and working in the park. We'll accept all volunteers. We're not a membership organization, but we'll accept any help for whatever period of time. Please come join us. We also work very closely with the City Park and Recreations Department, and certainly with ComFest. We've been fortunate to be the recipient of several ComFest grants in recent years that are helping us get a number of projects underway. We're working on a water feature for the pond. We're also involved in the restoration of the 1870 Goodale Gates over here on Goodale. And we've been working with the Department of Transportation for a new pedestrian entrance at the intersection of Park and Goodale. So there's an incredible lot going on. We just finished renovating the playground. We've done a lot of work in the park in recent years. And again, we urge you to check out the website and come join us on any of our work days.
I guess we're going. Oh, I wanted to add something, please. I may have to leave in a little bit here. I wanted to add that it's friendsoftheravines.org is our website, and we are always looking for volunteers for either creek cleanups or our annual spring flower walk or our community forum, or with editorial help with our publications, or insights on our boards. We have several board positions opening right now because people are moving, and committee work is available. That is on a small scale, that's on your local scale, that's getting locally involved. On the largest scale, I believe you all are going to talk about legislation. Let me just point out to you that 2 things concern me personally. One is that we all know we're in a real funding crunch, and ODNR is Ohio Department of Natural Resources is heavily impacted by that, so of course Columbus Parks and Recreation. But there is a division in ODNR, it's DNAP, National Resources and Parks, and it was founded in the 70s. And this year its funding is being cut by 60%, and next year 0 funding. If you folks don't do anything about it, you will see an entire division go to the pots, and that will be terrible. Same holds true for your watershed organizations. These are there working in the background for your clean watersheds, for your quality of water, to determine non-point and point source pollution, and grab the polluters and get them in front of the judge and the jury. And they work behind the scenes. Their funding is running out as well. So next year, no more watershed coordinators. Hopefully flow will continue to exist, because I believe they managed to work themselves into a position where they can sustain themselves a little longer, but even that will become questionable. So, this, by the way, is not ODNR's fault. ODNR gave seed money to all the watershed groups to be used so that they can get off the ground. But you know, and you've said that before, anything environmental, and by the way, also anything animal, just isn't sexy. So therefore, very little money.
Okay, in terms of the state budget, the concerns that we should have in terms of the environment are the Department of Natural Resources and also the Ohio EPA are both being cut significantly. The bottom line is a lot of this doesn't have to include tax increases, and it doesn't have to include stuff coming out of the General Revenue Fund. The governor proposed some very smart fees, like a kayaker would pay an extra $1.67 a year to register their boat. $1.67 a year to register their boat. The kayakers, a lot of which are saying, yes, we want this. The Senate axed it anyway. That is what she's talking about in terms of protecting the scenic rivers. So if you were to contact your legislators, you want to say, please protect the Department of Natural Resources, please protect the Ohio EPA, and please do that through these fee transfers that make sense. Fee transfer, they'll know what you're talking about now. There's many of them, but they all make a lot of sense. Thank you.
Let me just say on a local level, the city's Recreation and Parks Department has now been cut 62%. So the impact is that we're seeing grass being cut once a month. We're seeing no help on any bed maintenance in the park. The maintenance program has essentially disappeared. So that's why volunteers are so incredibly important to keeping a green space like this looking decent.
And let's remember that green spaces sequester carbon, and some of us have climate change issues, so we want to transition right into our first issue that was about climate change, and specifically the impacts that we have seen in the developing world. Have Jennifer cover that.
These are really impacts that we've seen across the world in developing and in developed worlds. Last year we had that giant windstorm that was the tail end of a hurricane that was going on in the Gulf Coast. It's not that there are new funky weather storms that are popping up. It's an exasperation. It's an intensification of the amount and the strength of wind and other types of storms that we've been experiencing throughout our time on Earth. We've been seeing an increase in flooding across the board in developing nations. In a lot of the low-lying areas of Bangladesh, there's been an increase in flooding. There's been an increase of salinization of their drinking water and their agricultural water from ocean waters getting into fresh water. We've been seeing an increase, conversely, of desertification that's going on from water just not falling on certain parts of the world that are that can already be pretty deprived of water, and it really hurts people. As to statistics, I have an Oxfam statistic, and I have a book in here. That's where I pulled the quadrupling of climate-related disasters. That's actually an Oxfam statistic, and I can give you the book. And what I can also do is get with you at the end. And I do have resources. I have independent articles, and then I also have Oxfam articles that speak to the increased number of storms and the increased negative effect it's been having on humanity across the board. So.
The only country that calls it global warming. Every other country calls it climate change. So Jen could get with you about her. No, it's here in our country it may feel new, but across the world it's been called climate change. So we can't say finite what exactly it's going to look like. And by the time that we can say finite, we might be pretty far into it. So Jen can give you her studies. Does anybody else have a question for any of the groups up here about what you can do locally or what's going on at the federal level? Because this is sort of the time that we have a Q&A.
Can I back up real quick? So most of the environmental organizations are going to say the exact same thing, and there's a lot. You're right. You can always find conflicting evidence, but the majority of evidence in regards to these effects is that they have already begun, that they have begun throughout the world, that they are more pronounced near the equator, which is often the developing world. So that concept of climate change, you're right, it is confusing. In Africa, there are abnormal freezing spells that have never happened before that are totally changing agriculture and making it difficult for that growing to occur again. So that this is that concept that the climate is different. I think that the research will be there, but I just wanted to let you know that all of those national and international organizations are all backing that from scientific research. I think we had a question. Go ahead. Yeah. Come up here and we'll repeat it.
Personally, I would prefer the term climate emergency or climate change. The word change not only conveys the urgency. Dr. Jim Hansen, one of the top climate scientists in the world, is actually calling for civil disobedience in coal plants. When we're talking about crossing the tipping point of no return, setting the whole process in motion, a runaway train, we don't have an infinite amount of time to deal with climate change. We don't have it open-ended. We're already approaching the tipping points, according to Jim Hansen. And I wanted to add to what Jen was saying about the state budget bill. I'm from Athens. I'm actually working to develop green energy projects for the city of Athens. And kind of at the last minute, we got a very positive amendment into the budget bill. Not a lot of people know about it because there's a lot of nasty stuff in it, a lot of cutbacks. But in Athens, we are pioneering with a new method for financing residential solar projects, where we create what's called a revolving loan fund that allows the city to give low or no interest loans to homeowners to finance their rooftop solar systems. That's now an amendment to the state budget, and we're hoping that that will get passed. So that's a very positive thing. But my question is about the relationship of environmental groups like the Sierra Club and others to Governor Strickland. I think there's a tendency when we have a Democratic governor to kind of take more of a hands-off attitude because we've got a Democrat, and obviously he's better than Governor Taft on the environment. But right now, Governor Strickland is taking some very, very poor positions on the environment. He oversaw a $30 million loan guarantee for a new coal plant down in Meigs County that should not be built. It has no controls over carbon emissions. It's going to completely undo every step forward we try to make in the city of Athens. It's like one step forward for green energy, and if that coal plant gets built on the Ohio River, it's like 20 steps backward. It completely undermines what we're doing in the city of Athens. That coal plant should never come online. So, and Strickland is also supporting the nuclear plant. So I'm wondering, are the environmental groups willing to challenge Governor Strickland when he, support him when he does the right thing, but he needs to be challenged when he does the wrong thing, supporting coal and nuclear?
It's an excellent question. I'm in the governor's office every week, and the governor is, in my opinion, disappointed, at least the Sierra Club, and many, many fronts, and Environment Ohio, Sierra Club, Ohio Environmental Council, there's Buckeye Forest Council. A lot of us are in there together doing our best to deliver a message that is unified. I can say that we have some big concerns. You're right, the nuclear power, the bypass that goes right through our only national forest, the funding for AMP, these are all big concerns. We're getting some movement in other areas. So transportation, we did not get our passenger rail, but Governor Strickland's the one that put it on the agenda. That had a lot to do with our pressure. Stronger building codes, we're pushing that in a way that's never been pushed before. So I think you're absolutely right that Governor Strickland needs to hear from, they're hearing from the staff of these organizations, but you're indeed correct that Governor Strickland needs to understand that he is not safe because he's a Democrat or whatever, that we are watching, that we see him as a mixed bag. Of course, last year he passed the strongest energy efficiency and renewable portfolio standards, some of the strongest in the country. But that progress that's making our utilities invest in renewables and invest in efficiency is moving backwards with these really bad plans. And so they need to hear from all of us. And it really, when you walk in there, or when you email, or you write a letter, or you call, when you do that and you say that, it actually makes it easier for those of us that go in and advocate, because it helps them understand that we are representing the people of Ohio. So, thank you. Does that help answer your question? Okay.
So what I did is usually put that in there. I'm a former worker from the Pikeville Uranium Enrichment Facility, and last week we were handed a media press release saying that Governor Strickland, Gene Schmidt, and Bornovich was going to put a nuclear power plant in Pikeville. So they hold a media conference at the site with the workers, with the media, and without the involvement of the community. They even said that we did this behind closed doors. We wanted to surprise you, we're going to go ahead and build this nuclear plant. Those same representatives was in a meeting in 1999 when all these workers came in with lung cancer, carrying oxygen tanks. They had so much cancer, people dying at the plant, they put in a compensation bill for the nuclear workers. These same representatives are bringing another nuclear power plant to Piketon to kill the people in the community. It's a criminal act that they're doing because they know the workers don't have jobs. Yesterday, I was with a worker and he said, I've hit rock bottom. I don't have a job. Now I have to go to work at the nuclear plant and get cancer to make a living. That's really sad.
Right. And I want to echo what he was saying about civil disobedience. I don't know where or when, but I think it is time for that. We should be outraged. I think a lot of us are. I was at that press conference with the press pass, so I wasn't there as Greenpeace. Voinovich had the audacity to say that we're going to provide jobs by cleaning up the waste left over from the uranium. The point is there are solutions. We have 2 to 3 times the jobs under solar and wind. Ohio has been a leader in building solar panels. Toledo, Ohio has the highest rate of green jobs of any city in the country. So Ohio already is on the solution train in some of these parts. We cannot lose sight of what a green job is. Our jobs are not done at the ballot box. All of these organizations, we all need you supporting us, supporting the leaders when they're doing the right thing, and calling the leaders out when they're doing the wrong thing.
You know what, I don't know how you got in that meeting, but I've been in that community for 29 and a half years. I have almost single-handed bought that facility myself with no money, no pay, and I wasn't invited, and I'm a stakeholder, and they kept me out. And then they quoted some environmentalists coming in and saying that they agree with this climate change. What about the pollution from the plant? Why aren't they paying? Why did the people in the little boats on the river have to pay? Why aren't the polluters paying? Why isn't this Piketon plant paying for the damage that's done to this community and to the workforce?
We all agree with you here, and I was here with the Free Press. I was there with Harvey Wasserman, and Harvey Wasserman wrote a report that is in the Huffington Post and in the Free Press. So I couldn't speak as an environmental group there, I didn't. I wasn't there as Greenpeace, but we were there as the Free Press.
They put it in the paper that the environmentalists are talking about climate change. But what about the fluorides and the chromium and the radiation and the neptunium and the plutonium? What about the climate change?
We agree with you. That wasn't us, and I don't know what paper skewed that.
The Portsmouth Daily Times.
Okay.
My hometown local paper.
So follow up with me and we'll look into that.
Okay, and another thing that's aggravating me, some of these national groups are going in talking about for the communities. They're leaving the communities out. They don't even come to the communities and talk to us. They go to Ted Strickland, and Ted Strickland think that these national people are representing us, and they're not doing anything for us.
Ma'am, there is actually, I attended a meeting a couple of months ago with the OEC, the Ohio Environmental Council, and there is a wonderful woman whose name I'm blanking on right now. She runs an organization called the Ohio Health for Environmental Justice, and if I had her information, I would definitely give it to you because she was speaking about just this problem. She's very local, and she would be able to give you a lot of feedback on how to do this and who you need to contact. And I can, I'm already going to give your friend my email address. So if you email me too, I can try and hunt up that information, and she deals locally.
And
We had Lois Gibbs come into town and wanted everyone to get on board of a train. And when you get on board of a train, they had one person that they want to pick out of this group to talk for all of us. You know, that ain't going to work. There's not going to be one person talking for all these communities in Ohio.
Sure. The Sierra Club actually has local activists in the Piketon area that are working, and I'd be happy to, the way we, and
Some of those people that are in there are sabotaging the work of 29 years plus.
all right, how about we'll work on that together. We'll talk on that together, okay?
I got a question.
Yeah.
Okay, so, you know, there is, I've noticed that there has been conflict between different environmental groups in order to get things done, and it turns out that that's what the mini media spins. They spin that there's a dispute between different environmental groups. What rooftop do we have that we can go under, or what tent can we go under to where everybody is represented in order to go as a group? Because right now, what you have is you have the Sierra Club, you got press, you have song, and you know the conflicts within the groups, and that's what the press is pushing. So what is available that could actually consolidate all the groups so that they're speaking on the same mind and actually working as a team than actually working against each other?
Well, I think we have a couple responses. The first I want to say is that there's a lot more collaboration than is often seen. So earlier this year, in the fall, about 50 organizations throughout the state got together in the same room to talk about climate change. So, and that is something that would never get reported by the press. We were there all day long, and we started working groups, and we're doing our best to keep each other informed. There are times when we can't agree, but there's a lot of big stuff that we can agree on, and never ever before has there been as much reaching across aisles, talking to folks in labor, talking to industrial folks, talking to consumer folks, talking to humanitarian and human rights groups. Never before has there been as much coordination. We're not ever going to get all the way to the same page on the nitty-gritty. And I actually believe that that's a good thing. I believe that there needs to be some groups that push this hard as they can for that ideal that all of us want. And there might need to be some other groups that help with the baby steps. There might be, some of us work at the local level, some of us work at the national level, some of us work at the state, some of us work in weatherizing home by home. But also that the same is true in policy. So that would be my perspective. We at the Sierra Club do everything we can to partner with as many people as we can and as many organizations as we can. And I know that is true for all the environmental organizations that are here, as well as the environmental organizations that are not here, that are also throughout the state. I think she had a response to that too, though.
Basically, I was going to say the same thing, that there are more groups starting to get on board, and I'm very excited about labor coming on board. The fact that we're going to have 2 to 3 times the jobs under a truly green economy. I mean, Ohioans want jobs. I saw that people were willing to take a job even if it was going to kill them early because they need a job so bad. So as much as we can be truth tellers, that localizing our food production methods, that working for solar, wind, weatherization, geothermal, and that we stay on our legislators, that we know what the solutions are, and we're not confused about what a green job is. We know that's not nukes. We know that's not coal, and all the groups up here agree with that. That we need to start carrying that baton a lot further than thinking it ends at the ballot box. So.
The problem we're getting in Piketon, we've been there 29 plus years. You get a new group that came in for 2 years and to bash all the work that we've done for 29 years without any money, without any national help. And then the Sierra Club comes in and joins this group that's been there for 2 years that's been bashing us. It's pretty overwhelming that we have a fight for our life down there, and these national groups come in there and they bash us to death.
Okay, we'll talk about that later, and I'm not a national group. Okay, I want to say that real clear. Okay, I am a daughter of Ohio, and I've committed my life to Ohio, and I'd be happy to talk to you about this more, just us. But I think there might be more questions that are broader, and I think we need to give those folks an opportunity.
I have a question. Are you with the Sierra Club? Is that who your organization is?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well that's a national organization,
but I don't work on national level work at all. I work at the local.
She works at the local chapter.
Okay, well of the Sierra Club are what have not helped us locally.
Well, then
But I have a question. Are you a salaried Sierra Club employee?
Yes, ma'am, but most of the leadership is volunteer.
Okay, and then my other question is, or actually it's a comment. Did you know that the Sierra Club invests its contributions into a general hedge fund, which invests all of its money into coal and nuclear and all those corporations that you sit up here and protest against?
Hey, I don't know why
Did you
you're...
know that? Look it up. It's all
I don't know.
documented information that you can look up online. So just so you know, the Sierra Club is a fraud, it's a fake, and these people freaking fraud.
All right, does anybody else have a question who wants to work on solutions? Hey, there's a valid way to voice your complaint, and this is ComFest.
Can we just all calm down? Everybody who's yelling across the board, can we just not yell?
Why don't you take your money and invest in green jobs and with the Sierra Club instead of in the hedge funds for nuclear and coal? You're a hypocrite!
Can we have another question, please?
You're a hypocrite!
We have 4 minutes.
I think we should each give an example of something someone could do every day.
All right, every day. Did anybody volunteer during the Obama campaign? And it's fun, right? It's fun to get with your neighbors. It's fun to get with these solutions. You know, I do a lot of stuff at the federal level, but what most excites me is these urban chickens. I know it seems silly, but I live in North Linden, and the more we localize our food production methods, we don't have to wait for the leaders to make these decisions. We don't have to beat ourselves silly about where's the funding, how's this going. Somebody should do that, stay on it. But at the local level, if you help these local community farms, that's the best way to lower your carbon footprint. And then we're leading the leaders. We do not have to wait for the federal administration stuff. Now, I want to work on the federal administration stuff. That's what I'm to do. But on the local level, I see nothing better that lights up people's eyes other than participating in the solutions, localizing our food production methods. Buying food locally is probably even better than buying organically. The kids love it. And so the point is, let's focus on the solutions, have a valid argument where things don't add up, but we do not have to wait for our leaders to figure it out. We know what the solutions are. If we stay in touch with each other, we write letters to the editor over and over, you call your legislators to keep the funding up for various groups, and we keep on keeping on. We do not give in to the deceptions and the lies. The dirty lie of clean coal, don't ever believe that. The only thing green about nuclear is the waste it creates. And at the same time, we localize our food production methods. 90% of the food shipped into our state was grown out of state. So at the local level, that's the thing that most excites me. But if you want to get on the activist train with Greenpeace, Facebook, Greenpeace in Columbus.
I would definitely like to second the urban gardening thing. I think it's one of the best things that people could do. You can produce your own food. If you don't want to eat it, you can always produce food, or help the homeless shelters that feed their people. You can help them produce food and help them lower their overhead and stop buying food that's not local. And I'm not going to bore everybody with how to be green. All I'm going to say is one of the best ways to be green is to write letters to the editor, to contact your representatives, to contact your senators, and tell them that you're green and you expect them to start acting green and you want the state to go green.
60 seconds.
Great. I just want to say that we vote every time we spend a penny. So we can spend that penny on a kilowatt hour, we can spend that penny on a CFL, we can spend that penny on fair trade coffee, we can spend it at the local food bank, I'm sorry, what am I trying to say, the co-ops, things like that. So remember that. You don't vote once a year. Thanks.
FriendsGoodalePark.org. Come join us on Saturday morning to keep this green oasis looking beautiful. Thank you.
All right, let's hear it for the community involvement and environment. Sierra Club, Friends of Goodale Park, Flow, Oxfam, PC. Great discussion. Thanks, ladies.
Yes, thank you. And just remember Goodale Park, every Saturday at 9 to 12 o'clock, you can come out here and volunteer and help keep this park beautiful.